the Supreme Court also weighed in on whether or not religious schools can get charter money from the government or the local governments. In case you missed this story, there's a Catholic school in Oklahoma that said, hey, we are a charter school, and just like any other charter school, we should be able to get grants from the state or state funding or vouchers from students in order to run our charter school. It's been a big legal issue for a long time, going back decades even, whether or not this is possible. The Supreme Court finally weighed in. The decision was 4-4. Amy Coney Barrett recused herself, having worked at a Catholic school for a very long time, which means that the decision goes back to the Oklahoma Supreme Court that said, no, you can't use state money in religious schools. Now, there's two very, very different thoughts, but also kind of really interesting discussion around it. On one hand, I personally would love the fact that Christianity could be in public schools. I think that would be a fantastic development, especially with how woke the schools have gotten. There's not a shot that I'm sending my kid to any public schools, government-run schools, especially in California. Maybe if they were religious schools that got vouchers for being a charter school, I might actually consider it. On the other hand, I'm not sure how that squares with the First Amendment, because as I would love to have government money or my tax dollars go towards public schools or charter schools that have Christian influence, I don't want the Islamists having their schools run in the way that they choose, paid for by my tax dollars. So then, not sure, given the fact that the First Amendment outlaws preferential treatment over religions from the government, I don't know how you're able to do that without also allowing some of the other religions to participate in the same way. So my bottom line is, well, then maybe why do I have to pay for government school to begin with? And maybe that's why the Trump administration has been so hard on the Department of Education and eliminating all of the unnecessary funding going to it. And all that I ask at this point, considering this is kind of a contentious toss-up thing and the Supreme Court did finally rule on it, can I just get a rebate? The fact that I'm forced to pay for government schools that I'm not going to end up using, and we're now in a place where religious schools can't receive government funding. Can I just get my money back? Can I be exempt from the fact to paying property taxes that go to schools that I'm not going to send my kids to and that I dislike everything that they're teaching? Can that just be the solution here? Here to comment on that and so much more is political commentator and comms extraordinaire Jillian Anderson King and Turning Point contributor and Frontlines reporter Savannah Hernandez. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Joe Bob.
Having me.
Jillian, I want to start with you here. This, again, I'm pro Christianity in schools, and then those schools getting government resources because, charter schools get that sort of thing. But at the same time, I'm very cautious because what I don't want is that to be distributed across all of the other different crazy religions that are out there, not even limited to the most prominent, just all of them being able to do the same thing. I don't know your thoughts with kids. Are you sending your kids to a public school? Is this something that you're concerned about? What do you want the same rebate that I'm getting? Hopefully.
Well, let's point out, first of all, we don't have a single female conservative sitting in SCOTUS right now. We just don't. Amy Coney Barrett is nothing that we promised. She is not what we ordered. For her to sit this out, what a shame. But anyways, I think it's a betrayal for parents who know what's best for their children. If those are the kind of schools we want to send them to, we should be able to fund them appropriately. Why are we as taxpayers, if to your point, if we're going to have to fund schools, why do we only fund the ones pushing gender ideology, failing our kids in reading and math? Why are we sending them to schools that are pushing, gender pronouns on kids and teaching them about porn when they're just children? Why are we funding them, but we can't fund Christian schools? That makes no sense. I work in my own free time helping tutor kids with at-risk youth who are years behind reading and math. I'd rather them go to a nice Christian school if they have the option.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I am sympathetic to the argument that, yeah, charter schools, especially with religious affiliation, should be able to accept vouchers. My biggest concern is that, all of the other religions. Savannah, I don't know. Do you have any similar concerns? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, my first thought on it was, oh, religious schools aren't allowed to get money from the federal government. It seems like the LGBTQ religion is very well funded
Mm.
across the United States of America. And again, this really is a religion. It's a cult. It's something we haven't been able to speak out against. It's something that, again, our children have been targeted with. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of seems like a double standard to me. And for some reason in this country, when it comes to real teachings of morals and values that would shape our next generation and create Americans who actually, would cultivate a better society. There's never funding for it, or there's always some implication as to why we can't. Going back to your argument too, Joe Bob, of okay, well, maybe we want Christian schools funded, but not Muslim schools. I feel like overall, if the LGBTQ nonsense is being funded, then these other religious schools should be funded too to counteract that. That's my
That
view.
Well, no, and that's actually a fantastic point. Maybe that's the silver lining. Maybe that's the tact we take. We just categorize all the LGBTQ stuff as a religion, which it might as well be, and say, okay, cool. Well, you can't have that in public schools either. I'd actually be fine with that as a compromise.